Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge and welcome to another recommendations video with your sassy romance reader. That's right, I have one of my extra large sweaters on today. The sun is out though, I'm so happy. I know I've shared this, I don't normally get seasonal mood things, thankfully I've never had before. But there's something about this year where the amount of cloudy days and dark days we've had has just been a lot. So anyway, that's not what we're here for. But my point being, I'm very happy that the sun is shining. We have a recommendations video to do. And today, as you can tell by the title, it's going to be office romances. And when I mean by office is anything to do with the workplace. And you'll see as we have a variety of different workplace scenarios. I tend to really like workplace because a lot of times a workplace romance will start with a one-night stand situation or something like that, where it's before one of them starts a job and they have a one-night stand with someone, and then boom, it's your boss, or boom, it's your coworker or something like that. And I really like those because it just starts them off with this sexy tension, and then it's like, oh, we can't be together, but we've already slept together, so what are we gonna do? So we're going to go through some of these, and like I said, I have them kind of all through the gamut of different kinds of jobs and situations, and so we'll talk about it when we get there. So first off, I have to start with one of my favorite authors, and two of the books in this series currently have been workplace romances. Now, they aren't my personal favorite in the series, and you'll see why. But they still are very good books and a lot of people love them. So I have the Stopover and the Casanova by Swann. These are books 1 and 3 in the Miles High Club, which of course book 2 is my daddy Kristen is in there. So book 1, the Stopover, is kind of how it sounds. We have Jameson Miles, who is on a plane. This woman had gotten upgraded to first class, and she meets Jameson, and they end up having to have a layover because of a storm that's happening in the city they're going to fly into. And so they end up having a one-night stand, and then it turns out that I don't know if it's a full year later that she ends up getting a job at Miles Media, which is where he is the CEO. As I've shared, Jameson isn't my favorite Miles brother. He isn't a perfect boy for me, but I know a lot of people do love this book, so I'd be remiss if I didn't recommend it as an office romance. And Swann, this series it's a lot of fun. And then the Casanova, which came out in 2021, this one is about Elliot Miles, and does she work for the tech team on here? I can't quite remember. But her name is Kate, and they have had this kind of long-term animosity towards each other, and the hate starts turning into love in this one. And this one was so crazy. I did have a great time with the Casanova. Elliot just couldn't quite live up to Kristen for me, but he was a heck of a lot better than Jameson was in my eyes, and Kate is just full of fire, and I love that about her. Then I want to recommend Managed by Kristen Callihan. This is a series by her that a lot of people really love. I've actually only read Managed in the series. I read it as a part of a thing that some of us romance booktubers did, where we read each other's favorite books and annotated them. And this was one that got passed around. And this one is about this woman who, she actually used to be a paparazzi. And now she doesn't do that job anymore. And our hero, he is the manager for this band that the series is about. And they start this off again on a plane ride. That's funny. Where she had gotten bumped up to first class because there was an opening. Well, the thing is, he had bought 2 seats because he doesn't like to sit by anyone on a plane because he gets a little bit of flying anxiety and he doesn't want people to see it. And then they can't downgrade her again because now the flight is full, and they end up having this really crazy banter back and forth. He doesn't know that she is actually the paparazzi that is responsible for kind of a big mess that had happened with the band a few years ago. And yeah, when they get where they're going, it turns out that she's been hired to kind of help manage some things for the band. I believe it is the social media. Like, I think she's there to like manage their social media, or kind of the view that the press is taking on them. I believe that's what's happening. But this one was really great. This was actually like a very slow burn. But the thing is on this plane ride together, there was something about her that like put him at ease. And when she's going to be going on tour with the band, he ends up asking her if she will continue to like be by him when he sleeps, so that he's able to actually get sleep. So it's really cute setup. Then there is a more new release. This book was originally an Audible original, but then it just got released in Kindle. And I actually read it when it was an Audible original, but now it's available, like I said, on KU. And that is called Getting Real by Emma Chase. This is a part of a series that I think it's like 3 friends, but this is a single dad he has 2 or 3 children, and he's divorced, and he's a doctor. And our heroine is actually a nurse that works at his hospital, and she has kind of had a crush on him for a while. I think this is an age gap too. I think he's like 10 years or so older than her. The age gap wasn't really a huge part of the story, in my opinion, so I wouldn't consider this like an age gap romance. There just happens to be an age gap in their relationship. And this one was just really sweet, because this was kind of a like, they weren't friends, but they have kind of a slow build with each other. And I really enjoyed this one because the miscommunication that happens at a certain point in this book came from a place of like our hero trying to be like a really like a really respectful partner. It's just that, again, you should ask someone before you assume what being a good partner to them would mean. But I really enjoyed this one. I liked it because like sometimes they worked together and sometimes they didn't, because they were on sometimes like opposite schedules at the hospital. But yeah, I just really enjoyed this book. I gave this one 5 stars when I had read it, and the audiobook for this was really good. Then there's Hotshot Doc by R.S. Gray, which is more of a I mean, again, this one is also a doctor and his nurse, and she had been working with a doctor that she really loved working with, and he's retiring, and he wants her to be able to stay at her same level and be like paid what she's getting paid, because if she were to work under some doctors who were like lesser than him, she was going to get like a pay cut. And so she ends up underneath the Hotshot Doc, who, I believe his name, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I didn't write that one down. He's seen as this very like grumpy, tough guy. But part of it is that he works with patients that he really has to keep his like guard up. Otherwise, the weight of, you know, the medicine that he's doing could really crush him. And I really liked this one. I liked this enemies to lovers. I liked that it was very grumpy sunshine. She was very a quirky, fun nurse, and he's more like, you know, on top of it. And so I really enjoyed this one. Then there's The King of Wall Street by Louise Bay. This kicked off like, I can't remember what the series is called, but there's like 5 books in this series that's all about kind of like billionaires and royalty as well. It does cross the pond into England at some point too, which is really fun. But I really enjoyed this series as a whole. And this one starts out with, this one is Harper and Max. And Harper, I believe, is a researcher for his firm. I think they're lawyers or business people. I can't quite remember. I know, I'm so great at it. But this one was kind of funny because not only are they working together at work, but they end up being neighbors in their apartment building. Because he has gotten I don't think he was ever married to his baby mama, but this one was he has a daughter, and the daughter really kind of falls for this lady, which is really fun. But yeah, this one was another one that I had a good time with. Again, there's ones in the series that I liked even more than this one, but this is the start to the series and it was really fun. And at the time, these ones were a part of Audible on like Audible Plus. I think they were part of Audible Plus when I listened to them. So that could be a good way to listen to them. Then The Intimacy Experiment by Rosie Danon. This is one that I really love from last year. This one is about an ex-adult entertainer whose name is Naomi, and our hero, whose name is Ethan, who is a rabbi for this congregation. And he asks Naomi to teach her classes on intimacy to his congregation to help teach the young people and whoever else wants to learn about different kinds of intimacy and how to date in the world we're living in that is very disconnected and uses its phones and computers for communication. And I love this one so much, and the way that it is kind of like a workplace situation is that, yeah, she gets hired to do this at his synagogue, and there's a lot of pushback because of what her occupation used to be, and a lot of people overlooking her qualifications, and that why wouldn't she be a person who could, you know, give that kind of information really well. I loved this book. It made my heart so warm and fuzzy, and it's a really great one. Then we have a very spicy one that is mostly all smut, and that is Tell Me You Want Me by W. Winters, or Willow Winters. I remember when she was writing this, she has a TikTok where she makes like 1 million TikToks a day, and I remember when she was like, I just want to write an office smut that is 5 chili peppers. And she did. So this one, our hero comes in because he needs to do some evaluating of like the assets of this company, and some people are going to be have to let go, and our heroine, of course, is very suspicious of him, but they very quickly kind of begin an affair. This is a very short one. It's like just over 200 pages, and it's a crazy spicy one with some very improbable situations and places where people are having sex in an office. But there you go. When you're reading an office romance, what are we really looking for, you know? Then this one's kind of an interesting one because this crosses a lot of tropes. There's Hothead by Damon Suede. This is a gay romance. This is also like a friends to lovers, and it's firefighters in like post 9/11 New York, and they've been friends for a very long time, and one of our heroes, he's been pining after his friend for a very long time. They're also like older heroes too. I think they're in their like later 30s, and they've both been afraid to make a move, but we're only in the head of like one of our heroes, so we don't know that the other guy's also been pining. And they end up in a scenario where one of the heroes needs to make some money, and so he gets hooked up with this guy where they're making some kind of like smut films. And he asks his friend to come with. And so this really kind of kickstarts some intimacy between them, and some of it gets pretty crazy. This book was kind of bonkers, but it was very interesting. But yes, they're both firefighters at the same place, so that's why I'm kind of counting this one loosely as like a workplace romance, because they do work together and are also best friends. Then there is Layer by Layer by Kaylee Ryan. This is another one that is a scenario of, I believe they meet on a plane. I think this is another plane one where she ends up going there for an interview, and it's this company where all 5 brothers run the company. I believe there's a book for every brother as well, but I haven't read them. And she ends up being the executive assistant of the guys she was on the plane with. Like, that's the simple setup for this. I remember though, this was the first book that I read with an assistant, like boss romance, when I first became an executive assistant, which it's only been a year since I've been doing that. And I just remember thinking just like how inappropriate, not even the sexy part, but just like how he was treating her and talking with her. But it was a fun time. I enjoyed this. And the audiobooks for these, I think, were on AnyPlay. So it was a fun, quick one. And then the last one, and this one is a bit of like a change up, and I wanted to make it work, and I put Slave to Sensation by Nalini Singh. This is the first book in the Side Changeling series. I'm sure you've probably heard of it, but you're like, Jen, how is this an office or workplace romance? Well, the reason that I did that is because in this one, Lucas and Sasha, they need to work together to solve these, I think they were explained as like kidnappings or brutal murders that were happening to changeling women. And Lucas wants to find out who the killer is, and Sasha, he gets paired up with her, and it kind of goes from there. And I really enjoyed particularly the first like 10 books in this series. I've read more than that, but the first 10 were really where I was really sucked into this, and I loved being introduced to the changelings world. And in this one particularly, I really love how Sasha is slowly being awakened in so many ways, because the Psy, they've really like shut down all their emotions to, you know, prevent their powers from being a danger. And it's just a very interesting way. But I thought this would be a fun one to maybe slip in as a workplace/office romance, because they are working together for most of this book to kind of solve this case. So there we go. So there we go. There's maybe some kind of unconventional / books that you'd expect to be in this, but I haven't done an office rec romance in quite a while, and I think there are plenty that are like the typical ones we see, but I just kind of wanted to shake it up. So thank you so much for watching. I put up new videos 3 to 4 times a week, and you can check out some of those right now. Bye.